Hi, everybody. It's part two of what is happening to Americans right now, collectively, but also individually. It stands to reason that the pandemic would spiral Americans into depression, anxiety, that it would skyrocket across the nation. And again, I will say, for those who were and still are gung-ho, with believing the lies, and they screaming at people for not social distancing and all that kind of stuff, how they could possibly think that the measures taken to keep us safe would actually keep us safe, keep us healthy, that it would actually keep us healthy. Of course it wouldn't. And we are living the consequences. And unfortunately, the consequences, they're only going to get worse as they bring out new variants. So, yeah, U.S. adult report, highest stress level since early days of the pandemic. And this was close to a year later. Still stressed. 84% of U.S. adults say the country has serious societal issues that we need to address. 9 in 10 adults say they hope that the country moves toward unity. Well, wouldn't that be fabulous? Nearly a year into the pandemic, prolonged stress persists at elevated levels for many Americans. 81% report that the coronavirus pandemic is a very serious problem. Or 81% reported the future of our nation was a serious problem. 80% the coronavirus pandemic. And then 74% political unrest around the country. Significant sources of stress in their own life. And I read this into a video once before, but I'm going to read some of it now. The bogus recovery, economic recovery, stress and burnout. We have all experienced the disorientation and brain freeze that stress triggers. Responses to the pandemic have been continuous sources of stress. Chronic stress, which is worse than just acute stress. Chronic stress leads to burnout, the collapse of our ability to cope with the burdens pressing on us. Authorities keep promoting a bogus recovery, economic recovery narrative. The disconnect between what the authorities are claiming and what people are actually experiencing is widening, and these unbridgeable contradictions lead to meltdown. No wonder more and more people are losing it as their neural circuitry melts down under the strain of synthesizing what they experience, the crisis in their life, and what they're told. Oh, the recovery, it's glorious, getting better every day. Fabulous. The lies are so outrageous, and that's purposeful, just to see where Americans are at in terms of believing the outrageous lies we hear, and whether or not they can do anything about it. So I think we've proven we're not going to do anything about it. Stress disrupts the default hierarchy of the brain. The natural fight or flight response we feel when suddenly confronted with danger or potential danger. But more importantly, it illuminates how we lose the ability to analyze circumstances rationally, when we are stressed out. Once our rational analytic abilities are shut down, we are prone to making a series of ill-informed and rash decisions. And boy, do I know that well. The more stressed out we become, the lower the quality of our decision-making, which then generates poor results that then stress us out even more. I've been living this way for years. So all of it further degrades our already impaired rational processes. This feedback loop quickly leads to losing it and or burnout. And the article that he is referring to is Everyday Stress Can Shut Down the Brain's Chief Command Center, which I think I have it open, but I can't access it anymore. It was a very good article, but then when I clicked on it to do this video, now I have to pay. So maybe you can access it. But the article focuses on short-term stress. There is growing body of evidence that chronic stress has a number of subtle and destructive consequences. In addition to the common sense connection between chronic stress and hypertension, there is evidence that obesity is also related to stress-caused conditions, such as inadequate sleep and chronic inflammation. This makes sense as the stress hormones erode the immune system's responsiveness. Behaviorally, stress breaks down self-control. So it is no surprise that stress leads to binging, addictive behavior, impulse buying, screaming, fights, physical fights, crazy behavior. Chronic stress permanently degrades our ability to rationally analyze and plan. And so we act irrationally or erratically as we are no longer able to stick to a conscious plan of coherent action. And boy, can I speak to that. The chronic stress that was in my life as I was driving around the country, living in my car, homeless, having just literally lost my life and desperate to get back to it, I kept moving here, there, everywhere. And finally got that there's no place like home. You know, my former life was the liberal, progressive, Democrats, the, professionals, what they consider to be the educated elite. They're so ignorant about what the elite really, what it is. But that was my life. And it was years of just letting go more and more of that life as I was still living in the same area. But the more I realized that my own friends could care less about the truth, and this was during the Obama years, I couldn't take it anymore. And I lost respect for all of them. And I walked away before #walk away. But I didn't walk to the other side. Excuse me. And I realized, holy shit. Kind of out of the matrix, but I need connection with people. And not being able to find that, not being able to find an environment where I could live similar to Great Barrington, Massachusetts, where I could actually create a new life for myself. I couldn't find it. The pain was really pretty intense. So I think also just the driving around, moving around was to, I'm sorry, I have had, I don't really know what to call it, but something in my throat all day. So, yeah, chronic stress is very dangerous to your overall well-being. Physically, wow. Live and learn. You know, I have had a stressed life based on just, what I was trying to accomplish and the work that I chose. Very stressful, but not the kind of stress when you are losing everything. There's a difference between stress you choose and stress you don't choose. It's a big difference. The stress you don't choose, and it's just brought about due to external forces. And if you can't get out of it, you're looking at not feeling well, not thinking well. Everything begins to degrade. So, yes, chronic stress permanently degrades our ability to rationally analyze and plan, and so we act irrationally and erratically, as we are no longer able to stick to a conscious plan of coherent action. With the rational mind and self-control centers permanently suppressed, we are prone to withdrawal and passivity, sleepwalking through life. This may help explain Americans' remarkable passivity as their civil liberties are taken away and their financial insecurity increases. But every individual can only answer, what their symptoms are and why they're brought about. What makes them the way they are. The reason why it's several-fold why I'm posting this video. One, it's really important to recognize where people are at the moment. If you know someone who has been living chronically stressed, judgment, your presumption of what it's about, adds more stress. You don't help them that way. And it's also, again, to highlight, most Americans have no clue who they are. And when they begin to feel what they consider to be negative feelings, and they go on and on a daily basis, you can bet they're going to act out The people who know who they are, understand their issues, have, a level of self-awareness, are, and I'll say generally speaking, those are the ones who can better maintain control over their behavior. It might not be 100%, but if they have that awareness, they can. If they lose it, then hopefully they'll come and apologize for that and get back on track. But we don't have Americans like that. They're so lacking of an awareness of themselves. And that's what scares me about what's coming. People really losing control. And other people getting hurt by the loss of control. So many of the features of post-traumatic stress disorder are now visible in everyday Americans. Even before the pandemic, over half of Americans reported that their stress level was unusually high. And while we love the delusion that this is the best country to live in, Americans have it better than anybody else, no, we have not. For a very long time. Check out European countries and how they live, how they work, and then make your assessment. An assessment based on just hearing over and over and over again how superior we are, how exceptional we are. That's just regurgitating the socially engineered message to keep you in a delusion. Medical professionals were already burning out before the pandemic. We have 3 basic ways to counter the destructive consequences of stress: to develop positive physical and mental responses via discipline, habit, and practice. Regular exercise, gardening. Turn off the mainstream media and social media. Eliminate deranging, destructive distractions. Stay focused on our plans. The simpler and more positive the plan, the more likely it is we can stay focused on it in stressful circumstances. So it's interesting because when I arrived back in South Carolina in 2017, I think. And I was living in an apartment complex for about 3 years. Oh, the stress. The first year was grueling. Completely alone, feeling very isolated, grieving a friend, the loss of a friend, and every day, just the pain was intense. The stress was intense. Not knowing anybody, my not being alone. Well, that year, I made it a point to get out and exercise every day. And I missed, maybe if it was raining, or I missed very few days. I got out every single day, pretty much the same time. Then I started to get to know people in the apartment complex. So I developed a routine. I began to get known. I had a routine with an elderly tenant who pretty much every day she'd call and say, "You coming out for coffee?" And I would go up for coffee. Those little breaks were my outlets. Walking at the track and lifting weights and all that, that was a great outlet. Being able to just go out and go to stores and see people and talk to strangers, all of it was an outlet. But the routines that I was that I finally established it was a saving grace. That's why moving to Montana, everything that happened in South Carolina, not good. Really not good. The stress now has just exploded. And the inflammation that I have every single day, the inability to think about my life personally, this is who I've been as an adult all my life. So, okay, you research, you analyze it, and then you either write or speak it back. You communicate it back. This is what I've been doing my entire adult life. It's getting harder. But when I'm staring at an article and reading it, and then maybe commenting on what I'm reading at the moment, that I can do. But I've become pretty paralyzed in my personal life and basic functioning. If any of you remember the videos that I posted in South Carolina saying, okie dokie, level of basic functioning just went down a notch. Well, it really went down with this move. And moving, what is it? Divorce, moving, and death. The three most stressful things one can do. So everything that I'm dealing with now, which I will get into in another video tomorrow, it has literally left me every single day with an anxiety. That anxiety for me was just not part of my life. Well, now, scared, being kicked out again, having to move again, and face people who literally do not care if I have to put my cats down, if I live in my car, what happens to me? Nothing. That's scary. And it is not based on anything I've done. And I'll get into the details tomorrow. So, the stress and isolation and how we treat one another is really important. Now, if for the people who've not had any major change go on in their life, I can guarantee you they take most of life for granted. When you lose everything and you are finding yourself in relation to other people and they're behaving in ways that you're just, it's not behavior that you could even understand. But the lack of care in their behavior is scary. If you can think objectively and then collectively and then think, holy shit, this is what we're all facing. People on the whole, really don't care about other people. They say they do, but they don't. So, more on that at another time. You know, I'm going to read this, The Wages of Perpetual Fear, just a couple of paragraphs, because this is what I read, that it was that wow moment for me, and I'll tell you when I get there. So, the wages of perpetual fear. Now, I don't feel the fear, regarding what's going on with our government and the elite, and that's. I actually feel fear in relation to the people here, because I see what they can do, and it's not pretty. And I'm here because of the cats. Otherwise, I would have been long gone. My fear is of how we all behave, treat one another. I don't have a fear of the elite, and I don't even, while I talk about them, I don't focus on them. I'm focusing on you and me, and how can we be better to one another so that we develop a strong bond, a trusting bond. I've not been able to do that with people. And I'm learning more and more that a whole lot of you have not been able to either. So here, the author of the article says, I've gone on for a long time about fear making humans stupid, and even about it being a weapon and a brain poison. But I've also wondered at times whether people would hit fear fatigue, that point where people have simply had enough fear and walk out from under it. Now, I'm not even sure if people are conscious of the fear that they experience. Because they lack the awareness of not only, their thoughts, why they think the way they do, why they behave the way they do, but also why they feel the way they feel. Now, our emotions are really important because they're our internal communication to ourselves. And that communication is very important. It lets us know whether we feel safe, whether we should back away from somebody, okay. I don't think most Americans are even aware of what they really feel or why they feel it. So how can you walk out from under something if you're not even understanding it? That's my assessment of Americans. I could be wrong. Okay. But 2020 certainly has been the year of fear. The propaganda machine. What perpetual fear does to us? Now, he bounces back and forth from fear to stress. I think he's using it interchangeably, which I would not. Stress, fear, very different. During sustained stress, we're more fearful. Our thinking is muddled. We assess risks poorly and act impulsively out of habit rather than incorporating new data. A long stream of fear / stress, our thinking breaks down. You may be very bright, in essence, but when you consume hours of fear every day, you become stupid. And please understand this is biological. Your brain operations become those of a stupid person. That's not the case for everyone. And if you're not afraid, as he is suggesting that people are afraid of, what is going on in the country, then you're going to be processing that information differently. So I want to replace fear with stress. And stress can come about for many different reasons. When you are chronically stressed, you can become stupid. Your brain stops functioning the way it used to function. Yes, your thinking is muddled. And it was that habit that I thought, oh my God. I do the same thing every single day. And I'm not talking about how I lived in South Carolina, in Montana. I am so completely isolated. I see no one. I don't talk to anyone. And because I'm paralyzed in my personal life, and new data, new information, very difficult for me to comprehend. I also had a stroke, so I sit here. I sit here. I sit here. Literally, all day and night. Oh, I might get up and, check out the cats outside or whatever, but this is what I do. That's it. Now, it's act impulsively out of habit, which to me, that seems a little contradictory. I do this because I can. That's why I do it, because I can. And I keep it up. Very often, I will keep going because I know that if I let it go for a period of time, I'm going to have great difficulty coming back to it. So fear works, yes. The people selling fear on TV, web pages, social media, they're being rewarded for it. Stress weakens connections that are essential for incorporating new information that should prompt shifting to a new strategy while strengthening connections with habitual brain circuits. So he's reading quotes from a book, Behave, the Biology of Humans at Our Best and Worst. And something happened to my mouse. The cursor, this was yesterday, the cursor, I couldn't see anymore. I could see that I was rolling over things, but I could not see the cursor. I had to, and I couldn't get off the, without just rebooting it, but I couldn't shut down my computer. The way we shut down computers. I just had to click off. But ever since I got it back, I've gone to, the mouse controls, and I can't get it the way it used to work. Anyway, so if suddenly I'm flying down the page, that's why. So, the weakening of connections. If you're in chronic stress, and have been for a very long time, if you have that kind of awareness, you'll actually feel the weakening. It's not, I want to say, it's scary. Well, it is, but there's not too much that really scares me to the point where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so scared. No. But it's just scary to be aging, to have all of these cognitive issues, physical issues, and have no one, literally no one. And then have experiences over and over again with people who, for lack of a better word, they're bonkers. So under fear locks you into your habits and your previous choices. It literally diminishes the brain pathways that allow you to change your mind. And it's serious. Under sustained stress, we process emotionally prominent information rapidly and automatically, but less accurately. Working memory, impulse control, decision-making, risk assessment, and task shifting, all impaired. All impaired. So, our neighbors who've drunk deep from the river of fear are brain-locked. And so long as the fear stream continues, the fear-mongers, the propaganda machine continues, and it will, and it'll get worse. They will get more and more rigid in their biases, and that violence will continue and increase. And that's what, I am very concerned about. Very. Because I, having listened to other subscribers tell me what they have experienced with other people, what I've experienced with other people, it seems that everything's getting worse. Stress compromises your judgment, of course. Everyday stress can shut down the brain's chief command center. I will actually link to this because if you can get it, it's a very good article. Neural circuits responsible for conscious self-control are highly vulnerable to even mild stress. When they shut down, primal impulses go unchecked and mental paralysis sets in. Primal impulses, when I have said in videos that people regress under great stress, prolonged stress, chronic stress, they regress to childish behaviors, regress to primal behaviors. And there's many articles on stress and many studies. This is the Mayo Clinic. On your body, stress, headaches, muscle tension or pain, chest pain, fatigue, change in sex drive, stomach upset, sleep problems, your mood, anxiety, restlessness, lack of motivation or focus, feeling overwhelmed, irritability or anger, sadness or depression on your behavior, overeating, undereating, anger, outbursts, drug or alcohol misuse, tobacco use, social withdrawal, exercising less often. The two for me, social withdrawal, angry outbursts. The good part about everything that's happening now, the outburst did not happen. Did not happen. I've stayed away. Don't want to have anything to do with them, but I didn't lose it. And even though I'm really stressed, I feel a little bit of growth there. So, that's good. I'm actually pretty happy about that. The impact of stress on body function. I'm telling you, I never knew. I picked a stressful profession. It was a stressful ride to that profession. Stress, I grew up with it. I've known it all my life, hardwired for it. But I never experienced the difference between choosing a profession that's stressful, and having your circumstance turn into incredible stress beyond your control, you have no choice, externally brought about, wow, stress is a killer. Stress can exert various actions on the body, ranging from alterations in homeostasis to life-threatening effects and death. There's a lot. Stress can cause structural changes in the brain with long-term effects on the nervous system. Stress has many effects on the human nervous system and can cause structural changes in different parts of the brain. Chronic stress can lead to atrophy of the brain mass and decrease its weight. I have to wonder if I have the atrophy going for that part of the brain that has to do with my personal life. I don't know. The hippocampus gets affected. And it has the highest level of response to stress. Cortisol. Well, the cortisol receptors in the hippocampus, not good. Various studies have shown that stress can cause functional and structural changes in the hippocampus section of the brain. Structural changes include atrophy, neurogenesis disorders, chronic stress, and consequently an increase in plasma cortisol leads to a reduction in the number of dendritic branches, the neurotransmitters in your brain, and the number of neurons. There's structural changes that take place in the synaptic terminals. The firing, that goes on in your brain, telling, parts of your brain, okay, do this, do that, do the firing of those synapses begin to slow. Many, many different effects. High concentrations of stress hormones can cause declarative memory disorders. Stress can cause a reversible reduction in spatial memory as a result of atrophy of the hippocampus. High plasma concentrations of glucocorticosteroids for extended periods of time can cause atrophy, leading to memory disorders. Stress also has a negative effect on learning, certainly processing new information, and has many effects on cognition that depend on its intensity, duration, origin, magnitude. The net effect of stress on cognition is a reduction in cognition, which can lead to dementia as well. So, I'll link below to all of these articles. How chronic stress changes the brain and what you can do to reverse the damage. Well, first you got to get out of that chronic stress. Repeated stress has a huge impact on your brain. Repeated stress is a major trigger for persistent inflammation in the body. Chronic inflammation can lead to a range of health problems, diabetes, heart disease. The brain is normally protected from circulating molecules by a blood-brain barrier, but under repeated stress, this barrier becomes leaky, and circulating inflammatory proteins can get into the brain. The brain's hippocampus is a critical brain region for learning and memory, and is particularly vulnerable to such assaults. The inflammation can adversely affect brain systems linked to motivation and mental agility. The effects of the hormones in the brain, cortisol, The high prolonged levels of cortisol have been associated with mood disorders, as well as shrinkage of the hippocampus, and many physical problems. Chronic stress can lead to depression. People who have experienced depression are at risk for future bouts of depression, particularly under stress. And you know what? All of this is out there. And most people judge people. They have no understanding of what people are going through. And that is killing us. Ultimately, also changes in the chemicals in the brain, which modulate cognition and mood, including serotonin. Stress hormones such as cortisol play a key modulatory role in sleep. Elevated cortisol levels can therefore interfere with our sleep. Depression can have huge consequences on work, impairs cognition, planning, problem solving. It affects all areas. Chronic stress and its impact at work can lead to burnout symptoms. So stress can interfere with the balance between rational thinking and emotions. And boy, we have an awful lot of people going on emotion. So, yeah, I am worried about us. Stress can cause an imbalance of that neural circuitry, affecting cognition, anxiety, mood, decision making, and decrease expression. Well, the mood can increase or decrease expression of those behaviors and behavioral states. This imbalance in turn affects systemic physiology. Your entire body is thrown off. Toxic stress refers to the situation in which bad things happen to an individual who has limited support and who may also have brain architecture that reflects effects of adverse early life events that have impaired the development of good impulse control and judgment and adequate self-esteem. Here, the degree and or duration of distress may be greater. With toxic stress, the inability to cope is likely to have adverse effects on behavior and physiology, and this will result in a higher degree of allostatic overload, leading to exhaustion, adrenal fatigue. So, the adverse early life experiences are those experiences of child abuse, child neglect, domestic violence, growing up in a house where there's alcoholism, drug addiction, parents going to jail, poor finances. It sets the children up to be adults who do not have what other people have who have come from less traumatic upbringings, have less adverse early life events. So in a changing social and physical environment, the brain and body respond physiologically and behaviorally in order to adapt. And physiologically, my God, the sympathetic, the parasympathetic systems, the hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal, immune system, metabolic hormones, molecular processes within all organs, including the brain, they are all affected. All affected. So, I would say that there are a lot of Americans, perhaps even the majority, who have had some kind of traumatic experience when they were children. You know, it's on a continuum, so it depends on the intensity or whatever. But when they experience stress later on in life, if you've grown up in a relatively healthy family, or even those socially acceptable dysfunctional families, you might be able to deal with stress better. For those who grew up in the violent, abusive homes, have a very difficult time with the kind of stress that comes about relationally. In other words, the kind of stress that is brought about due to other how you are interacting with people and what happens, the lying, the gaslighting, scapegoating, doing things to betray one another, and your circumstances get worse. So, it also goes to the loneliness. The more persistent the stress is in one's life, the more they break down and begin to not function the way they did ordinarily, and they begin to withdraw, which leads to social withdrawal. There are a lot of people who use lonely and isolation as if they're interchangeable, and they're not. I don't really experience loneliness. The isolation, the having no choice whatsoever, no outlets to just call somebody and say, hey, let's have lunch, or let's have coffee, or go visit a neighbor, or even see people. It's an isolation that has been extreme. I don't generally feel lonely because I have the kind of interests where I can keep myself very busy. So they're two different things. And I don't like it when people just kind of flap back and forth, isolation, loneliness. Psychology and the social cost of isolation in everyday life. Now, people might isolate themselves, and then they begin to experience loneliness. That may very well be true. But part 3 on the effects of social isolation will be tomorrow. This is very important because the pandemic has brought about tremendous isolation. And I've been reading these articles, and I find it a little strange that the amount of time that people were isolated, they're now having difficulty connecting with other people. Okay, that might be the case. It's never been my kind of experience, but this pandemic, everything that was going on prior to the pandemic, the stress, the unhappiness, the loneliness, the people feeling more and more isolated, all of that was increasing and increasing. The pandemic, well, let's just say the longer this goes on, the further they bang the last nail into the coffin for Americans. But we are disintegrating. Literally. Families, friendships, our social contract with one another as human beings. Everything is literally disintegrating. And people will revert to those primal impulses, and unfortunately, those primal impulses are the impulses that are not controlled. Not controlled. Now, I want to read some emails that I've been getting. I've never really had a hard time talking about my experience until I came to Montana. Something very big happened internally with me. And because I've been saying I will post this update, I'll post the update, and I've not been able to. The big thing that has happened is the isolation broke me down. The stress has just been really very degrading. I feel myself differently. I know I'm not functioning. And you get embarrassed. And you certainly get embarrassed when this kind of stuff happens to you over and over again. And while I care less and less who believes me, it's still, to get comments that are so, I don't know where they come from. I don't even know these people. I open up my email and I am so blown away with how somebody could hate anyone that they don't even know. But look, in South Carolina, when I was just going about my business and I could go for a walk, I had the outlets. I don't have any here. So when I've said that you are the balance, you guys who are supportive or kind, even just neutral, writing a comment about our situation, you are the balance. But the balance has now become an imbalance with me. And when I read let's do it. First I get this. Oh my God, I am so happy for you, Carol. All of the hard work you've done throughout the years. I just went to the site that has kept all of your videos, and oh my God, what work you have done, lady. You are a true blessing to the American people as well as those around the globe that take the time to watch your videos. Keep up the great and honest work that you do. Have a great day, Carol. Okay. Very supportive. About, I don't know, a half hour later, I get this from the same person. You Scottish F. You haven't explained your family, and as such I don't trust you. You are disgustingly soiled. You New York gal, who cares? Get real or die. I won't be emailing you again, you millionaire princess from hell. Know what a sign of intelligence is? First of all, you denounce, and Jews, okay? Really? Me? I've been attacked for 12 years as a Jew lover. Okay. Secondly, you stop attacking trans people. Never did that either. Thirdly, you start showing respect for people who took you in for low rent. Admit you're lesy instead of this acrobatic Scottish shite. That's it. That's effing it. Hope you sleep. Same person. I'm getting these kinds of emails now a whole lot. They start out okay, and then boom. Floods? No. I have one more thing to say before you withdraw, like a bollockless girl. Those people that drown effing needed to drown. And you know it and love it. Buster, my sneezy boy. Yeah, and I love it. We are through your feel for the people cow shit. You can spew it, but I won't drink it because it's a lie. I never believed you couldn't lie. You like to lie. Stop spewing lies. Good night. And remember, next time you're being taped by a bigger, fancy, what a coincidence. Yes, what a coincidence. Yes, I hope you, I won't say it. A long good night. Okay. Yeah, I block. I'm blocking more and more. Carol, you can't run away from the truth with willful denial. If you can't watch this from beginning to end, then I have nothing again ever to say to you. And a video. The forcing of beliefs upon other people. That's got to stop, ma'am. Apparently, you only want money. You will not get it from me. Get an effing life. Make your own money. If you were honest and truthful, I'd give to your channel. But you are not. You are hateful and ungod-loving Carol. You spew so much hate. I am so sick of it. I, too, have sick family, which you care nothing about. Faux bitch, you are disgusting. I don't even know this person. I don't even know who the hell this is. But, yeah, I got this today from another subscriber. I just want to point out there are different types of lying. One type of lie is to tell a bunch of people, I will tell you what's going on tomorrow, and say it twice emphatically. And then be like, oh, you know what? I ain't going to change my mind. Sorry if you can't see how that's a lie. I sent that email yesterday because, oh yeah, that was another one. I was so sure you would backtrack like you usually or often do. I wanted to point it out before you did it this time, and voila, you didn't disappoint. Or rather, you did. Or a similar issue, why don't people like you? You say it's because you were offered to look at blueberries and said you would, but then you told them you wouldn't go. Doesn't that sound like you? It sure does. And you rejected a scoop of strawberry ice cream, and now they dislike you? Well, could it be the way you are snooty about everything that makes people feel like crap? Do you have the right to make everyone feel as if the Queen has just phoned them up and told them how worthless they are? Oh, I didn't know this zoomed in. I just scrolled my mouse. Okay. Well, yes, but Is it wise? No, it's a skill you just didn't bother to learn, unfortunately, and I feel sorry for you. Do you think Jesus had a way with people, as in everyone that met him would say, wow, I just met Jesus. He's a real snob. Told me he didn't want my friggin' cream. And he'd rather join his Father in heaven before he'd completed his mission than go to look at blueberries with him. Okay. You know, yesterday I had another happening here, and it left me feeling so unbelievably stressed, shaking, and I just felt sick. I've not been sleeping well. And I've said in plenty of videos, I am no longer reliable. With everything that has happened in my life, I am no longer reliable. That's why I don't commit to things. That's why, for 12 years, I've had a number of people contact me wanting to work together. I can't. When you literally have a life that has no stability in it, you cannot make commitments. But due to my health and due to, my brain, and I can't be reliable. When you change your mind, that is not a lie. It's not a lie. And I did say in a video that, do I want to be able to accomplish everything that I want to on a daily basis? Absolutely. Am I having difficulty accepting that I can't? Perhaps. If people don't understand that, then I don't know what to tell you. But I'm getting a lot of crazy people sending me emails, and I sure would like it to stop. But, it just goes on and on and on. The hatred spewed, the craziness, this is what I've been talking about. People are not okay. They're not okay. And, I just can't imagine ever, ever, ever doing what an awful lot of subscribers do here, in the cyber world. It doesn't even, it's not even on my radar. But now, because I am so, I've become far more vulnerable and easily just brought back into a depression, which I have to work very hard to stay out as best I can and just keep going. I don't know what is wrong with people that they think that they have the right to send these kinds of emails to people. But we do have, we're a mess. This country is a complete mess. And I don't, me, Queen, no. Nor am I snooty. I am, and based on what people have said to me, the comments, the emails, I happen to be quite friendly, out and about, and hey, there's nothing like losing everything and getting ditched into a whole new class, economic class, that will make you humble. More humble than you ever were. No, I am so It is hard for me to talk about my life because I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And I'm so tired. It's important, though. Not for me. It's important for all of us. Because how you get treated in your life can have a ripple effect on how we relate. How we treat one another here is really important because, first of all, you don't understand what someone's going through, what their life has come to. You could kill someone. You could lead them to kill themselves. You could lead them to say, can't do it. I'm done. And then that's one less person that makes that link weaker, though I don't think we have much, of a strong link chain, but no one, it's like everyone is out for themselves. And that is a scary realization when we can't even behave in a way that we're not putting somebody else into a life-threatening circumstance based on such stupid, something so like my not accepting strawberry ice cream. And okay, I have videos on Never Lose Truth 3 about it. And no, I don't care if they hear me or not. I don't. Look, from what I heard, they're using my laptop to do Bible study. They've thrown themselves into Bible study because one of them just screamed out, I just want to get into heaven. And I'm like, well, guess what? I don't think you're going to be getting into heaven. Not with what you are doing. Yeah, not with what you are doing. The lying, It's been quite the experience. My cats love it here. That's why I'm here, a day at a time. And I'm having to get out mid-September in, 10 days? Moving again, and holy shit, man. All of the weather events, the shutting down of interstates, the craziness at gas stations, the traveling with 4 cats, starting over again. Yeah, I did say that this time I'm not sure I'm going to be able to survive it. But I will do my best. Anyway, all of you who have, this clearly primal impulsive, out of control behavior, sending off things like this, when I have no clue who the hell you are you kidding? See, when I get something like this, I know that the person's out of control. So when somebody's out of control, you can't ask them to pull it back and be in control. But when they are back in some control, you can ask them, could you please work on yourself so that you don't do this to other people? Because how you treat me, comment section, emails, that's how you're treating other people. I know it. So, is it behavior that needs to be worked on? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Will it? Who knows? It's up to them. All right, guys. Be very careful who you are hanging about with. If you find that people are emotionally dysregulated, if you find that people might have a problem with controlling their impulses, really think twice about being around them. Because as things get more and more stressful, that's not somebody you want to be around. All right, guys. Good night and good luck.